So the universe survival arc of Dragon Ball Super is set to take place, and let's talk about the warriors that are potentially going to be involved. Now we know there's 12 universes, and there's going to be 10 warriors representing each universe, not including, of course, us having the God of Destruction and their Supreme Kai by their side. So in essence, we're going to have a lot of people. Now let's quickly talk about the fact that each universe essentially is a mirror of the other. For example, how we had Universe 6 and 7, they were basically each other's counterparts, so I'm imagining they're going to have the same thing. If we're going to have potentially 120 warriors, not including the Gods of Destructions and Supreme Kai, there's going to be a lot of characters to fill. And one thing that I'm thinking of immediately is a good chunk, or maybe a small chunk at the very least, of these characters are going to be mirrors of the others. So that way, I mean, you got to think about it for a second. Over 100 new characters, or at the very least 100 and some odd new characters, is a lot for them to introduce. So definitely you also got to think that not only are they going to probably use the whole mirror effect that, like, you know, let's just say this universe and that universe is going to be counterparts to one another, I think also they're going to have to make a lot of these characters at the very least be fodder and just basically be weak, because okay, if we're gonna have Roshi and Krillin in the tournament, you got to give them also a fighting chance. So I definitely think that a good chunk of these warriors from these universes are going to be somewhat weak. And let's quickly talk about Universe 6, because we've seen in the tournament that they had that they seemingly gathered up the best that they can get at the time, Vados and Champa, for the tournament against, you know, Universe 7, Beerus, Goku, and all of them. Now, the people that we had on the team were Hit, Frost, Boltamo, Magetta, and Kaba. Now, Frost is no longer a part of the equation because of what happened during the Universe 6 tournament, so we only have 4 confirmed fighters right now. That means that Champa is going to have to, and of course Vados, gather up at least 6 more warriors. But at the end of the day, if Vados got the strongest that she could get at the time, you got to think that those 6 other warriors, maybe out of all of them, a couple of them are going to be credible, but they're probably not going to be all that in comparison to Universe 7, because aside from Hit, pretty much everybody in the Universe 6 team at the time were kind of weak, and especially comparison to Universe 7, they were pretty weak. Kaba got bodied by Vegeta. He basically had to train him in a sense, so that wasn't even much of a fight. Magetta was a joke fight. Boltamo got his ass kicked. It was pretty much a slaughter fest. Frost wasn't really all that either. It was really only Hit that was a good representative for this universe, Universe 6. Getting 6 other comrades, so to speak, you got to think at the very least, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a couple of them, or at the very least one of them, is another person from Planet Salad, because you got to think, is Kaba the strongest from that, you know, planet or whatever, or could there potentially be other Saiyans that are strong? So potentially we could have at the very least an introduction to 1 or maybe even 2 new Saiyans for the Universe 16, because they got 6 slots to fill, and yeah, they need 10 people, and they need 10 strong people. So it's kind of putting Universe 6 in a way in a weird place, because we do know, again, aside from Hit, like I mentioned, they were pretty weak. So if that was the best that they had at the time, unless Vados can round up, you know, a decent amount of new people that are even stronger, they're gonna have problems, especially if any other of these universes are stronger or as strong. They're gonna be crippled at the beginning of this tournament. Then of course we already know the 10 fighters that we have, and talking about some of them, you gotta think that at the very least in terms of the story and where they're gonna go with it, they need to have opponents that essentially Krillin and Roshi and some of the more weaker people, even 18 and 17, even Piccolo, like, you know, they're not the strongest people in the world, especially, you know, even Tien. You know, there's a lot of people that are on Universe 17 that are just way weaker than people like Goku, Vegeta, and arguably Gohan, assuming that he's gone back to his greatness, you know, his prominence in the Ultimate Gohan form. So they're going to be, I'm assuming, honestly, out of this new bunch of 100 and let's just say 6, because of the new Universe 6 warriors that have to be included, unless Frost comes back, which I doubt after that big disagreement, especially seemingly in the anime, he's gone missing, that Frost is going to return, other than the fact that maybe he might show up and try and crash the party, which that'll be a big mistake with gods all around. So I don't think we'll see a return of Frost, but with potentially 106 new warriors, there's going to be some people that are going to be weak. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of universes that, at the very least, majority of their players are going to be weak as well. And you got to think as well, one universe that is going to return is Universe 10. Now, we didn't get to explore much of Universe 10, but we did see that Gowas was, you know, the Kai of there. So Gowas will be returning for the ceremony as well. I'd imagine there's going to be a point in this actual part where Gowas is going to kind of be embarrassed because of the whole debacle with Goku Black and Zama. So that's going to be a funny scene that's going to return. But you got gotta think, what was the main thing that Gowas was proud of and what he was looking for in his successor that was supposed to be Zamos? He was looking for strength. He had Zamos because Zamos can really kick ass. So it kind of makes you question what type of fighters are they going to look for. Well, if Gowas learned his lesson, then probably he's going to look for people that are more of the intellectual level opposed to just strength, because look what happened with Zamos, and you gotta assume that Gowas learned his lesson about just going after strength and looking more so towards people that can actually think and not just be like, oh yes, I need muscles. So I'm imagining that the Universe 10 fighters, whoever they may be, they're going to be capable of fighting, you know, actually pretty good and pretty strong, but also they're going to be intellectual. Again, assuming all of this, you know, latest arc with Goku Black and stuff like that has any bearing on Gowas' character from here on out. Not to mention the fact that his God of Destruction, whoever that may be, is going to have to, you know, select these people as well. So it's going to be a process, but I'm assuming we're going to get some intellectual fighters as well as some pretty strong fighters from Universe 10. Although that begs the question, well, if there was some capable people, why didn't anybody jump on Goku Black's ass or Zamos' ass and beat him up? So there's a question there. And I'm imagining as well, if we're going through the numbers, let's just say, okay, there's 12 universes. Universe 1 and 12 are mirrors. 1 and 12, 2 and 11, 3 and 10, 4 and 9, 5 and 8, 6 and 7. Quickly to mention, because people are going to bring this up regarding the new Warriors, it needs to be clarified, and I know a lot of people are wanting this, but we just gotta, you know, focus on the reality. Characters like Pikkon, and I think his name was Olibu, that was in the Otherworld tournament that Goku participated in before the Great Saiyaman arc, the filler arc. They're not going to be returning because, one, they're filler characters. I mean, it would be cool as shit, and let's just say for all intents and purposes, hey, you know, they're going to work in some filler into here. They're going to bring in some filler characters and introduce them as canon. Another reason why it won't work is this is a tournament for the living to save their universes, and Pikkon and Olibu are dead, not to mention the fact that if all else fails, these are the 10 representatives for Universe 7 that we already have, you know, and they're part of our universe. They're just different quadrants. So even if they wanted to introduce them, they still couldn't be a part of the team because we already see that we have a set team of Krillin, Goku, Vegeta, and so on and so forth. So there will be no introduction to Pikkon and the others, and that's why mainly, you know, they're being excluded. They're filler, they're dead, so on and so forth. And the last question regarding Oob. Oob's not going to be a part of Team 7 because he's right now, what, maybe a year or two old. Remember, he was reincarnated at the end of the Boost Up, so he won't even be 5 years old, capable of really fighting up until the end of Z portion. So there's no way that Oob will be returning either. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised with what they've been doing with Dragon Ball Super thus far with the nostalgia trip if a lot of these new warriors are kind of familiar to us, even though they're not going to be exact mirrors, because remember, the universe mirrors are 6 and 7. So if anybody's going to be a mirror of us, it'll be Universe 6, which again could be the introduction to more Saiyans, maybe Kaba, you know, saying, hey, there's somebody that's way stronger than me on Planet Salad or Saddle, whatever the hell we're calling it now. So that's probably where we'll get some more mirror fighters. But as far as like the new universes, it's going to be interesting as well, because I mean, are they capable of actually creating over 100 new characters that we're going to care about? And I honestly got to say that I definitely don't think we're going to have 100 unique and awesome new characters. I wouldn't be surprised if before the tournament the Omni King blows up shit before we could even get to see some of these fighters. So I think that we're not going to see even majority of these people in action, and if we do, it'll be very small snippets, just because 100 characters is a lot of character designs and a lot of work. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with this, because again, if there's 10 other universes that we haven't really explored, I mean, you could argue we've seen Gowas and, you know, that particular portion of characters, but we didn't really get to see much of Universe 10, so we still technically have 10 different universes with 100 fighters, and it's going to be exciting to see. But I'm kind of curious what they're going to do, like what type of characters can we get? I mean, it all has to be kind of original if we're not, you know, seeing copies of Universe 7 Warriors. So that's where I'm kind of excited that the possibilities right now are absolutely endless for what they can do. And just talking about the Gods of Destruction real quick, we've seen that essentially Beerus and Champa are kind of based loosely off of Anubis. And if you go to the chart, I believe there was roughly 48 Egyptian gods or animals that represented the Egyptian gods. So I wouldn't be surprised if, okay, we have the cat, so maybe we would have to look at other different animals, which I'll actually, even though it's crazy and you might think, whoa, what the hell are you doing? But I'll link in the description below the list of what could potentially be some of the designs, because, okay, you got to think, we're going to potentially have 5 more animals, because if each universe is a copy of the other, as far as like, you know, being inverted, if we have Anubis, so we'll have 5 other representatives of animals from the mythology of the Egyptian gods and things like that. So that's something extra to note as well. Either way, I definitely think we're going to have a mixture of a lot of fodder, some characters that Roshi and Krillin and even Tien and Piccolo can, you know, pretty much take out on their own to top tier, and maybe we'll have some mismatches, like, you know, a really strong person that ultimately Goku's gonna have to face, or Vegeta, vice versa. Either way, 100 new characters essentially for this tournament, not to mention the gods and the Kais and everything. And from what we know right now, we know that Beerus is going to be the representative for Universe 7 with the Supreme Kai, and of course Universe 7's team. We have Champa with Vados and the 4 members or remaining members for Universe 6. We need 6 more there. And then we know that Gowas is going to be there. We don't know his God of Destruction. We do know, however, who's the Supreme Kai for Universe 6. So there's things that we know, but a lot we don't know. And either way, come February 5th, we're going to have 100 new potential awesome fighters. But let me know what you guys think. First of all, do you think that we're going to potentially see similar races from like our universes and other universes? Like, you think we're going to see Saiyans in other universes, like Universe 5 is going to have Saiyans, or you think that's going to be exclusive to Universe 6 and 7, seeing as how they're the only ones that are basically mirrors of each other? And what other type of fighters do you think we'll possibly see? You think maybe we'll see something like, you know, a Cell or anything? Since this is the multiverse, you never know, and the possibilities are endless. But yeah, I'm not expecting that we're going to have 100 awesome new fighters. I think it'll probably be barreled down to about maybe 10 to 15 really cool fighters, and then it'll trickle down to like maybe a handful of really capable fighters that only Goku and Vegeta and maybe Gohan are going to be able to handle. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm FunEverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and I can't wait to see these new fighters for the Universe Survival Arc. Let's go.